Hello, beautifuls. Today I'm back with another designer DIY tip. We are going to be dyeing a pair of Christian Louboutin heels to a different color. I got a pair of nude Christian Louboutin heels that have some stains and scuffs on them, which won't come out, so they're kind of not salvageable if you want to keep them as nude heels and have them look new and beautiful and not like they're beat up and abused, which they were. So, for this project, we're going to take this lovely pair of heels and we're going to dye them to a blue ombre color. So I haven't tried doing an ombre on a pair of patent leather heels yet, so we're going to figure it out together. And if you're watching this video, then that means it was some semblance of a success story. Surreal talk though, if you know that you're planning on doing a craft to this pair of heels that you get and you want to change them up a bit, finding a pair of nude heels is definitely the way to go. Nude heels require so much work and effort to keep them in their pristine, perfect condition, especially patent leather ones, because once you get any sort of pigment or color underneath them, those stains will never come out. So that means you're going to find those nude heels for way cheaper than a comparable pair of black heels in the exact same style, brand, pattern, etc. Simply because the black ones aren't going to show the stains, they're going to look better for longer than those nude ones are. But don't worry, I've got you covered with a bunch of things that you can do to these nude heels. We can paint them, we can dye them, we can bedazzle them, or you can just rock them how they are. I'm totally down for rocking ones with some scuffs and don't really care. I mean, take this pair of yellow Jimmy Choos. They definitely have some staining on them. It's super obvious, they're patent leather, it's never coming out, but I still love them and wear them all the time. And don't really care. If you rock it, no one else is gonna notice. Speaking of nude heels, this was another pair of nude Louboutins. I think I've probably bought a dozen pairs of nude Louboutins at this point, but I only have one pair that is still nude and are staying nude. These ones I completely covered in rhinestones. They were once tan. Now they're my Christmas shoes. Probably seen in my other video, I have this pair of vintage Chanel shoes, which are tan, and these ones I just repainted the tan to make them look better and less beat up. So you can always do that too. And the last example pair I have of the things that I do to nude heels is this pair of Saint Laurent heels. These were in fact nude, and they were also stained, and now I'm working on painting them white. Painting white over top of nude takes a lot of coats, which is why you can probably tell that the color isn't super even yet. I think I've probably put like 3 layers so far, but with Angelus leather paints you want to put a lot of really thin coats to kind of build up the color without getting weird bumps and streaks and having it chip off. So these will be eventually finished someday, maybe. I hope. We'll see. I have heels that I've been working on for an entire year. First, definitely going to need lots of paper towels, some rubber gloves to protect our hands, masking tape to mask off the parts of the shoe you don't want to get dye on, dyes. I'm going to be using a mix of navy blue and turquoise, and one of these little puffball dye things, or you can just use cotton balls, and some acetone to clean off the shoes. So let's get started. Alright, we are going to get some acetone and lightly put it onto our paper towel, and then just gently wipe down the entire surface that we want to dye. If your shoes have painted soles like these, don't get any acetone on them or it will pull the paint off. Alright, so now we're going to take our masking tape and carefully mask off the entire bottom soles of these shoes. If you want to get dye on the bottoms, then you don't have to do this, but you want to put masking tape on anything that's touching the surface you want to paint that you don't want to get any dye on. Make sure that you are pressing it down very firmly so that way no dye can escape underneath it. I made this mistake, as you'll see later on, and there will be a little bit of dye on the red bottoms. So please take your time and do this step very, very carefully. Alright, now we are ready to dye. So if you're going to do multiple colors like I am in an ombre effect, you want to start with the lighter color, which for me is the teal, and it's going on the front of the shoes. Just dip your brush or cotton ball into the dye and then just wipe it all over the area you want to dye. You want to try to make sure that this coat is as even as possible, otherwise you might see a change in the colors. We are going to let this dry for just a second, and then we're going to put a second coat on top. Since this is patent leather, you're going to need multiple coats to get it to permeate through that protective shiny layer on top. If you're working with a normal soft calf leather that doesn't have any patent material on top, you might only need one coat to get it to fully penetrate. We're just going to take a paper towel and gently wipe the surface. You'll notice that the color looks kind of matte on top before you wipe it, and after you wipe it and it's pulling those extra pigments that didn't permeate off, it should go back to that shiny patent finish. Once you're satisfied with the darkness of that first tone, we are going to go in with our second color and paint the other half of the heels, doing the same exact process. Now, because this is a very dark color, I really only am going to need one coat to get it to fully permeate into the surface. I'm not entirely sure if that's just because it's darker or what, but that is what I have found with the darker Angelus paint colors. Now don't worry about getting that line blended yet. We are going to do that in a moment. We just want to get the full color on the back first, so just bring it up to the line where you want your ombre to start. That ombre is going to overlap on top of the teal. So make sure that you're finishing the darker color at the edge of where you actually want the darkness to begin. And now to make the ombre effect, we're just going to do some light coats with our dark navy blue and wipe them off right away, so that way the color isn't permeating all the way through to make it fully the dark color. So I'm just gently wiping it on and then immediately wiping it back off. And as you'll see, it's starting to make the color transition a little more obvious. Just going to keep doing this, slowly making the area that you're lightening a little bit less and closer to the dark side until you get that full ombre color to your satisfaction. If the color variation in yours still doesn't look like it's quite lining up for an ombre effect yet, where the edge of that darker color is starting from, you can go back with your lighter color on the other edge and just gently add a bit of that, so that way you can get the full color change going from the lightest part, more pigment of the light part, switching to the dark part, and then the most pigmented dark part at the end. When you are satisfied with how they look, we're just going to let them fully dry, wipe them one more time, and then you can pull that masking tape off and see what they look like as the finished product. Now, I did mention earlier that I did not get my masking tape fully sealed around all the edges, so as you'll see, there are a little bit of dye on the bottoms, which I will color correct later because I do happen to have a bottle of that red bottom paint. Hopefully, if you're a lot more careful than I was, you won't have this problem and you won't have to clean them up at the end. Well guys, I would say that this was a pretty successful craft project. I did not think that the ombre was going to turn out as well as it did, honestly. I was a little weary at first. I wasn't really sure what would happen with this teal color on top of the nude, because I've never actually put this teal on something that was already kind of dark. I've really only ever put it on top of white. But I think it turned out really awesome, and I absolutely love them. And now they are one of a kind, and they look fantastic. No one will ever know that this was a pair of beat up Louboutins that I bought for $65. Please like and subscribe to my little newborn channel, and leave me a comment if there's anything that you would like to see me try out. I'm always ready to try some new craft projects. From me to you, as always, I hope your day is as beautiful as yours.